Sandra Bullock, one of Hollywood's most beloved actresses, has built a career filled with critical and commercial success. Yet, beyond the glitz and glamour of her on-screen life, Sandra's personal life has been marked by significant challenges, moments of joy, heartbreak, and ultimate strength. While many know her for her roles in films like Speed, The Blind Side, and Gravity, fewer people understand the complexities of her romantic life. The ups and downs she has experienced in her relationships have shaped her into the resilient woman she is today, and her journey has had a profound impact on how she approaches love, family, and life. Sandra Bullock has always been known to keep her personal life relatively private, especially early in her career. Her rise to fame in the 1990s brought her into the Hollywood spotlight, but she managed to remain somewhat elusive regarding her romantic relationships. Before her major break in Speed, 1994, Bullock was involved in a few brief relationships, including one with actor Tate Donovan, who became known for his role in Friends and The O.C. Their relationship lasted a few years and was one of Sandra's earlier significant loves. Though the couple's breakup was amicable, it was also relatively low-key, not generating the same level of media frenzy that would come with her future relationships. During the late 1990s, Bullock was seen dating Matthew McConaughey, her co-star from A Time to Kill, 1996. But again, their romance remained relatively under wraps, with only a few snippets of their chemistry appearing in the media. Despite being part of the Hollywood elite, Bullock was known to keep her personal life out of the limelight, making sure not to let her romantic entanglements overshadow her rising career. It wasn't until her rise to superstardom in the mid-2000s that Bullock's personal life began to attract widespread attention, especially after she married Jesse James, a reality TV personality and motorcycle customizer. Sandra Bullock's most publicized relationship was with Jesse James, whom she married in 2005. Their meeting in 2003 seemed to be a match made in an unconventional heaven. James, known for his reality TV show Monster Garage, was a motorcycle aficionado, and Bullock, with her love for adventure and quirky interests, was drawn to his down-to-earth personality. Their connection was immediate, and they married in a private ceremony in California in 2005. At first, the couple's marriage seemed to be a fairy tale. Bullock, who had previously been reticent about her personal life, found someone who seemed to share her values and interests. James, too, had a family from previous marriages, and Bullock developed a close bond with his children. Her role as a stepmother gave her a sense of fulfillment, and the media embraced the couple, considering them an example of an unconventional yet loving Hollywood duo. However, as with many Hollywood relationships, the pressures of fame, public scrutiny, and personal differences began to affect the marriage. In 2010, James became embroiled in a scandal when several women came forward, claiming to have had affairs with him during his marriage to Bullock. The media frenzy surrounding these revelations was intense, and for a while, it seemed as though the couple might be able to weather the storm. Bullock, ever the private person, initially kept a low profile as she tried to come to terms with the betrayal, but the emotional toll of the betrayal became too much for Bullock. In April 2010, just after the Oscar-winning success of The Blind Side, Bullock filed for divorce. The decision was heartbreaking, and the divorce itself was messy and highly publicized. Sandra's heartbreak was palpable, and the emotional scars were visible, particularly as she had invested deeply not just in her marriage, but also in James's children, whom she had grown to love as her own. James's infidelities shook Bullock to her core, but she maintained a sense of dignity throughout the ordeal. She remained focused on her career, her personal healing, and, most importantly, her newfound sense of strength. The fallout from the divorce was difficult, but Bullock took it in stride, using it as an opportunity to reflect and grow. Her relationship with Jesse James, despite its publicized collapse, would eventually be seen as a crucial turning point in her life, a catalyst that led to her transformation both personally and professionally. Amid the turmoil of her divorce from Jesse James, Sandra Bullock experienced one of the most profound and transformative moments of her life: the adoption of a child. In 2010, Bullock adopted a baby boy from New Orleans named Louis Bardo Bullock, just a few months before her divorce from James was finalized. This decision to adopt was one she had made long before the marriage fell apart, and her desire to become a mother was something that had always been on her heart. The adoption process had been lengthy, and Bullock had begun it before her marriage to James ended, but it became even more poignant and meaningful once she found herself navigating the emotional aftermath of her divorce. Bullock was determined to raise Louis as a single mother, and despite the difficult circumstances, she was resolute in creating a loving and stable home for him. Louis's adoption was kept relatively private at first, but Bullock eventually spoke out about the joy and fulfillment he brought to her life. She credited him with helping her heal from the pain of the divorce and found in him a newfound sense of purpose. In interviews, Bullock frequently described how motherhood had completely transformed her worldview, and she made it clear that Louis was now her greatest source of happiness. Bullock even took some time off from her career to adjust to life as a new mother, a decision that further demonstrated her commitment to being the best parent she could be. In 2015, Bullock expanded her family further by adopting Lila, a girl from Louisiana. Lila's adoption was kept even more private than Louis's, and Bullock initially spoke little about it, preferring to focus on her growing family rather than the media attention. Lila, who had been in foster care, joined Louis in Bullock's home, and together, they made up a loving and tight-knit family unit. Sandra Bullock's journey into motherhood and her adoption of 2 children marked a significant shift in her approach to love and life. No longer was she searching for validation through romantic relationships. Instead, she found fulfillment in her role as a mother, using her newfound family as the foundation for her happiness. While Sandra Bullock had endured a tumultuous and very public marriage and divorce, her relationship with Brian Randall was a much quieter affair. In 2015, Sandra Bullock met Brian Randall, a photographer who had worked on high-profile photo shoots, including celebrity portraits. While Randall was not as well known in the entertainment industry, he had a background in modeling and photography, and was someone who was used to working behind the scenes rather than in the limelight. Bullock and Randall were first photographed together in 2015, but they were incredibly private about their relationship, keeping details of their romance out of the public eye. Unlike her relationship with Jesse James, Bullock's time with Randall was marked by a sense of normalcy and privacy. They shared a common interest in art, family life, and a love of nature, and they seemed to be genuinely in love with one another. Bullock was drawn to Randall's grounded nature, and he, in turn, seemed to appreciate her for the person she was, away from the public's gaze. Randall quickly formed a bond with Bullock's children, Louis and Lila, and became a steady presence in their lives. He was not only a loving partner to Bullock, but also a supportive father figure to her children. Bullock spoke often about how well Randall fit into her life and how he brought balance and stability to her family dynamic. In 2023, tragedy struck when Brian Randall was diagnosed with ALS, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a devastating diagnosis that affects the nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord. Bullock, who had already been a deeply committed partner, took on the role of caregiver. The couple spent precious time together as Randall battled the illness, with Bullock providing unwavering support. Unfortunately, Brian Randall passed away in August 2023, leaving Bullock to cope with the profound loss. The loss of Brian Randall was deeply emotional for Bullock. Their love, though not extensively publicized, had been a significant part of her life in her later years. Bullock, who had always been a private person, found in Randall a man who truly understood her need for both love and privacy. Sandra Bullock's journey through love and relationships has been anything but simple. From her painful divorce from Jesse James to her transformative experience of motherhood and the loss of Brian Randall, her love life has been marked by both joy and heartbreak. Yet through it all, Bullock has emerged as a figure of resilience and strength, demonstrating that love is not always easy or predictable, but it is worth fighting for. Her relationships, whether filled with deep love or marked by painful betrayal, have shaped her into the woman she is today. A devoted mother, a dedicated partner, and a woman who knows how to find strength in the face of adversity.